Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. 'Tis I, Captain Logan, and joining me this evening, as always, is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Hello, DJ.
Hello, good evening, ladies and gents.
What's up, man? And from somewhere in time, it's Dan Torrey.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back, Dan. It's our sudden special guest. I didn't know Dan was coming on the show until about an hour ago.
Yeah, you asked me if I wanted to do it next week sometime, and I was like, I am done with my studying early tonight, so I can make it if he'll have me. And
yeah.
Cap was gracious enough to invite me on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I wrestled with it for a good 10-15 seconds. But here he is. So tonight we've got a lead-in topic and actually a couple other things I want to talk about as well, but I expect them to come up throughout the show. So after we do our first lead-in topic, I think we'll just start answering questions. And I've got a list, and if the other stuff happens to not come up, I'll make sure and sprinkle it in somewhere. But tonight we're going to talk about the possibility of HBO Max doing a sequel to Batman the Animated Series, what that might look like, what we'd like to see for that, if that seems like a good idea, bad idea, what are the conditions under which that would possibly be worth doing. We're gonna talk about all of that. I'm gonna mostly do speculation with that and not talk too much about whether or not that's going to happen. It's filed strictly under rumor territory right now, but looks like there's every potential that that's actually going to happen. So this is not me reporting the news. This is me going, here's the thing that could happen, and seems likely even. Let's find out, or let's talk about it and see what we'd like to see. As always, thanks a bunch for being here. If you're watching live, thanks for watching after the fact. If you're doing that, if you want to make sure that your question or topic gets discussed on the air, you could leave us a super chat in any dollar amount. We are 85 to 90% funded these days by the audience, so that's awesome. We sure appreciate everybody who does that. But if you don't, thanks a bunch just for being here, and that's the most important thing. You guys are wonderful for popping in and for caring at all what I have to say. I don't know why that is, but I really, really appreciate it, and it lets me keep doing this crazy thing, whatever this is. It lets me, Dan, continue to coast at life.
I wish I could do that.
so I just really appreciate that, guys. I'm already seeing some questions there. We're going to start answering stuff in about 10-15 minutes after we tackle that initial opening topic. So let's go ahead. And before we do that, let me also mention, I forgot to put it on the screen again. It's been a little while since we've got to do After Dark because we just got past all of the holidays and things, but tonight we are indeed continuing past the show, doing After Dark tonight. So my hope is to not go too much longer than an hour and a half. I should never ever say that. It's hard to keep the show under 2 hours, but we're going to try because we've got to do After Dark later, and I've got some work to do after the shows tonight, so I need to not be broadcasting till 1 or 2 in the morning this evening. So if at all possible, I'm working on a bad movie for Superhero Rewind, and I just can't wait to have to watch more of that and do more prep work. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. If you're on Patreon, you know why I currently have this look on my face. Yeah. Anyway.
Real quick, before we get going,
absolutely.
Everyone's shouting at me in the chat that you are a little loud and clipping.
Oh, well.
And me and Dan are apparently quiet.
Okay. Well, that's weird.
I don't know if that's just a comment on our personalities or if they're talking about some technical things.
Yeah, I know.
It's definitely our personality.
The first response I wanted to give to that was agreed. So you're right. Looking at my sliders, it did look like I was maybe clipping a little bit, but I don't see why these guys would be too quiet. That's kind of surprising. So I did turn their slider up a little bit, but it's starting to look clippy at the tops too. So anyway, guys, let me know if it's still bad, and I'll keep futzing with it. Anyway, so we saw a lot of reports this week, but again, squarely in the rumor category, and kind of nice that most outlets were saying rumor in big capital letters. I always appreciate that, because very clickbaity to be like, sequel to Batman the Animated Series, the HBO Max, and you click on it, it's like, maybe, but everybody was saying that that's a thing that looks like it could happen. one of the people that's been talking about that a lot is Kevin Smith, who is friends with Paul Dini and knows some of the people that were working on that show. So that gives potentially more credence to this, but I don't know. But honestly, when we get an official announcement for that, I'm not going to be real surprised about it. I've kind of been waiting for that, honestly, because it was, for whatever reason, seen kind of heralded as big news when Batman Animated Series went on HBO Max. I guess people were surprised that didn't get the memo about the DC Universe, and that was one of the first things from DC Universe that went over there. DC Universe, by the way, I think just today finally went defunct as a streaming service and is just comics only now, rebranded as DC Universe Infinite, which I am stoked about that they kept the comic side, because I pay for that and I use it a lot and it's wonderful. So it's awesome that I still get to keep paying a monthly subscription in order to do that and do the Marvel Unlimited thing for DC. Their reader is not as good, but their library is kind of better. So, yeah. What's up, Dan?
Did they change the price for DC when they got rid of all the film stuff?
I haven't looked that up yet, and I meant to do that earlier. Because I'm still there and grandfathered in, I don't know. I need to find that out. Hopefully somebody in the comments can tell us, because I've not had a chance to look that up yet. And yeah, they don't immediately, when you renew, of course, tell you what the new price is. They just go, hey, you're still in there. Good on you for sticking with the service. So anyway, but I have been waiting for an announcement like that for a while, especially because all of the 90s Warner Brother cartoon stuff seems to keep getting, announced as coming back in some kind of form. So we had Animaniacs, that whole season dropped. I've only seen the first couple episodes still, and then Tiny Toons was announced very shortly afterwards. So I was like, wow, they're gonna bring Batman back, especially because we haven't had an animated Batman on by himself in like a decade, and that's been driving me crazy. It's really strange that we haven't done anything with that property, with him just as Batman, because I like stuff in Batman's world, but I kind of miss the character, Batman. Like, I like that guy. And like we're doing another live-action Superman show, which is another thing I'll talk about later, and we still don't have an animated Batman on the air right now. It's very strange. But anyway, so I'll go ahead and just open this up to all of us, but is this, I mean, Dan, I know you and DJ both not big Batman guys, but, like, I'm sure you have opinions about this. Is this a thing we should be doing, or should we leave it well enough alone? Like, what are the stipulations where this could be a good idea, or should we just not even bother with it?
What do you think, DJ?
DJ never watched that show.
Episode of that show or anything in that universe.
This would be why I went to you first, Dan.
I mean, yeah, does it? And I mean, just based on like odds are that it's not probably going to be great. This doesn't work out a lot when it's like decades after, not decades, but is it decades technically?
Technically, yeah.
2 decades, yeah, it's a long time after, and like, I don't know. I mean, it could work. You give it a chance. Like I said, it's not something I'm interested in.
DJ's got no dog in that fight, and I did not bring Dan here specifically to talk about this. But do you have thoughts, Dan?
Well, as someone who got HBO Max like a week ago to watch Wonder Woman 2.
I at least have had HBO Max at the beginning, and I love that service, so I could talk about that. But
yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. As far as a service, and I guess maybe we'll talk about this later at some point. But I thought the Wonder Woman 2 movie was awesome. I really liked it. Anyway, Batman the Animated Series, the last thing in that universe I think I watched was the Mystery of the Batwoman movie they made, and that was just okay. I remember. It wasn't really memorable. I don't really remember much about it. So if it's like that, I don't think it's a good idea. I guess it really depends on how many of the original people get involved, how much passion they have for it. I mean, I really don't care either way. It's not something that I'm like, really, really looking forward to. I used to like that show when I was a kid. When it was on, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. But, I personally think it might be interesting to kind of like do a new Batman show, like let someone else take a stab at it. But, like the nostalgia for that series is so, is so like it's so near and dear to people's hearts. I can see why that they would try to use that to push their streaming service, especially with all the controversy. I heard that Christopher Nolan hates Warner Brothers now because of it. Like, I don't know. So.
Yeah, he really doubled down on, I guess he doesn't care if he ever works for them again, because after his statements, I can't imagine that they would hire him to make another movie. But yeah, I think there's still plenty that can be done in that world. It's the most versatile Batman on screen we've had. So like, I don't feel like it's like, okay, we've done that, we've exhausted everything. There's no reason to do that again, especially because it's been so long. There are lots of like more recent things and just stuff since that and Justice League and everything went off the air that we've done in comics that would be really interesting to see them adapt and to see that show do in its own unique way, because they never really directly adapted anything. They had a tendency to take, themes and ideas and characters off the page and kind of reinvent them and do their own thing with it. But a lot of those things are people's like quintessential idea of Batman. And so if you could take those guys, Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, all those guys from like mid-90s and teleport them to right now and have them look at more recent comics and have them make that show, that would be fantastic. Is it a good idea to have those guys make it now? I don't know. I hope Alan Burnett is involved, and I hope Paul Dini is involved. Beyond that, I don't trust Bruce Timm anymore. He could come back and do great, but the TV constraints were very helpful with Bruce Timm because he was constantly pushing violent envelopes, raunchy envelopes, sexual envelopes, and being on HBO Max, the floodgates will be open, he'll be allowed to do anything he wants to. And we saw how that worked out with Batman Harley Quinn. Do not want that, and the biggest problem with Batman Harley Quinn, as awful as it was it was also using that iconography and pretending like it was in the same world as Batman the Animated Series. Oh god, no. And so we don't want that again. But he's made a couple of other solo movies that weren't Batman TAS related, and then he did that Justice League thing that was superfluous and pointless, but fine, that have been okay. So it's a dice roll with him. Like, if he's involved, who knows what that is?
Would you say that there's anything he's made, of the things you mentioned that even were okay that live up to the quality of the animated series?
Gods and Monsters gets close, but that was like 8 or 10 years ago at this point, I think.
True.
Or maybe 7 or 8. I forget how long ago that was, but yeah. That was fine. But yeah, I don't know if he's got any. That short he made for the 75th anniversary was really good, but it was like 3 minutes long. Where he was basically making like a Fleischer Batman cartoon. And I don't know, like, I think of anything from that era that you could bring back, that's probably the best idea as long as it's made with the right sensibilities, because it's so timeless. I wouldn't be as concerned with that being too affected by like modern day politics and social political stuff and things like that happening. That show still holds up for the most part pretty well, and it would be really easy to make it just like it was and still speak to people the way it did. So I think it's a good idea as long as it's with the right sensibilities. As far as what the show should be, and I guess I'll just take over and keep talking, but my name's in the title, so it's fine. As far as what I would want that show to be and what it should look like, I think it should probably have a Bruce Timm-esque aesthetic, but still be kind of its own thing, like the Adventures of Batman and Robin were, or the New Adventures was. I don't want it to look like New Adventures, because I've never cared for that look, but I also don't think you should try to ape what it did in the first place. I think it should be set after that show, and if you're telling ongoing stories or episodic, I think you could do either. I think either is fine. I think it could be really cool to do like miniseries, sort of like, and that would be the way to modernize it, right? Do more serialized storytelling in that that universe and in that art style, or something akin to that art style, and maybe do straight up adaptations of things. You know, like what would the Batman the Animated Series Court of Owls look like? That's not a thing I necessarily care about when anybody else attempts to adapt it, but in that show, that could be fast. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see them do No Man's Land. There's all kinds of cool things that they could do. But I think they should do something in between that season 4 stuff and Batman Beyond. So maybe like, what does their middle-aged Batman look like? What is a like 40-year-old Bruce Wayne in that universe like, as opposed to, you know, the 35-year-old or the like 85-year-old that we had, you know, in Batman Beyond. And then the other thing I'll say is, I also, because all we're hearing is a sequel of some kind. Be cool if it was a Nightwing show. Be cool if it was a Birds of Prey show. There's a like as much as I want to see solo Batman again in that universe, I would not balk at going with somebody else that has not gotten as many stories in that universe yet. So
I agree with that. I wish that this was an announcement of similar to what they did with the Green Lantern animated series, where they just did a different DC character in that kind of aesthetic. I know the Green Lantern one was CG animation, but it kind of looked like
and
that. And
it wasn't in that universe, but it was made by that same team, so it felt like it was.
Right. Like if they did a Flash or a Wonder Woman show, like I'd watch that. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Well, and if that was successful, I could see them spinning it off and doing like a second Timverse too, and that could be really cool. And I could see them even trying to do, you know, the stupid synergy thing where you connect it to whatever's popular in the movies, but like them doing a full-on Aquaman show.
I love
that. You know, or even a Shazam show. I could see those guys. I mean, those would be the guys to make that show. I don't need that, but like Shazam, and of course he was in Justice League and stuff, and he was good in that. But like, I'm hesitating for. I'm pretty sure he was in that. But like Shazam in that style, done by those guys, Burnett and them. That's not a bad idea.
That'd be perfect. I'd watch that. I really liked the movie. I watched that recently. It was pretty good.
Oh, had you not seen it before? It's fun.
No. I'm taking full advantage of my free trial of HBO Max that came with my copy of Cyberpunk 2077.
Well, now's a good time because, like a lot of things, that was kind of a Christmas movie in disguise that was not released at Christmas.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, DJ, let's go to the phones, man. Let's get to some comments.
Alrighty.
Whatever people want to talk about is totally cool. Later in the show, I want to make sure that we tackle the Superman and Lois trailer that dropped today. That's the other big thing I want to talk about. But I'm sure that will come up somewhere. Noah says I'm still a little loud, so let me turn my gain down on my mic. Weird, because my levels are exactly where they were on Tuesday.
People, I don't know if this is a thing or not. People keep telling me it sounds like the mic is like not all the way plugged in or something. I don't know.
Okay. Can you guys give me just a second then?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Unacceptable.
All right, well, you're fired then, Dan.
Dan will not settle for anything less than we kind of already answered it, but TH1 gives a $5 super chat, and he said, "Why do we need a sequel? We have New Adventures, Beyond, and Justice League as sequels. Why not a Nightwing show or a Batgirl show?" And then he said, "You guys rock. We miss you, Dan," in the Discord.
Oh yeah, I would like to spend more time talking with you guys on the Discord. I've just been so busy recently. I will probably jump in once my bar studying is over. But anyway. I tend to agree with you, Tom. I mean, I would like to see something besides Batman the Animated Series, but like from a corporate, like how are we going to sell subscriptions to HBO Max, like perspective, I understand why that's what they went with, you know?
Yeah.
I would have said that 5 years after that show, but like I said, we've had a lot of years since then, and there's plenty of cool things to mine now. And I also would agree with you more if, and like I said, I would not mind something else, like another peripheral character that got their own show. There's all kinds of stuff I would love that nobody else would care about. I would love to see the like Bruce Timm versus Cassandra Cain show, for instance. Wouldn't it be neat to get a whole season where your protagonist like only speaks in sign and like never talks? I mean, it'd be super freaking cool.
And she talks and swallows a diamond. It'd be great.
Yeah, be awesome. Dan also watched that recently.
Yeah, that movie was not the greatest.
I will settle for nothing less than worst thing ever. I'm just kidding.
That's why I continue to use this just to torment Cup.
Oh, there she is.
That was the cup.
There she is. There's my secret other wife. Anyway,
hey, your other secret wife is Margot Robbie. You're not doing too bad.
Nah, right? just her on a cup.
And I like how you said other secret wife. How many are there, man? Are you just like a concubine situation?
Yeah, I don't know why I said other. Well, I meant other, comma, secret wife, like my other wife, who is a secret. It's what I meant.
There's a part of the bunker that Cap has never seen.
Oh, God. After Dark is later, Dan.
It's that big, yeah. But, there's...
Having Bates Motel flashbacks.
There is, as far as the Batman thing goes, let's get back on track. I think there's room for both things, potentially, personally. But yeah, let's keep going.
All right, well, let's get on to some different things. Got quite a few super chats here. Thomas Ledbetter, how would you redo the Thor/Odin argument in the Dark World to keep the same plans for each character while giving moral and selfish reasons for both?
I don't recall that argument. I saw the movie in the theater and never watched it again. So.
Same.
Yeah, now you're making me rewind and go back to rewind. What did I say in that review? Hold on,
I'm a big Thor fan, so like I would love that movie to be better written because like the story that it adapts is great in the comics. Like it's pulling primarily from the Simonson stuff. So I would just like that movie to be better, I guess is my answer because I don't remember the conversation.
To keep the same plans for each character while giving moral and selfish reasons for both. I mean, yeah, you got me on the spot here. I would have to really noodle that. My head is in a different, not good superhero movie from recent years. But I don't think it's that hard. I mean, I think you just have to put that a little bit more front and center than they did. And I need to understand Odin as a character more in the first place. I already didn't understand his moral ambiguity in the first film. And so I don't know. The argument was potentially interesting, except I didn't get fully the character motivations for either of them. I also don't totally get why Thor doesn't want to be on the throne at that point either. So yeah, there's a lot of setup stuff that's just not there before we get to that.
He didn't want to be on the throne because it was in Simonson, but they didn't do the work to get the character there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the problem is the last movie, that's the big thing he really wanted, and I'm not seeing the course that we charted to get him to that place.
Well, you see what happened was he found out something that he wanted more, which is a slapstick stand-up career and to throw balls into his own face, and then to watch
and then to wear a fat suit and
play Fortnite.
And stumble around with stoned Mark Ruffalo pretending to be Bruce Banner.
That's what he wanted to do. All right, well, Mr. Nicholas...
In his defense, that was someone else's dream, not his.
Nicholas gave $2 just to slam you, so I got to read it.
Oh, that's
fair. Your mic is too loud. Turn it all the way down, JK.
Oh, okay. All right.
He just wants Dan to take over completely, I guess.
This is a mutiny show, apparently.
He's kidding.
I'm about to turn it all the way down, okay?
Oh, no. This is very unsettling. So quiet.
Oh, no. He's saying some dirty things, folks.
Yeah, he was talking to his several wives.
I wanted to see if Dan could pick up on it. You know what I said, Dan? I said read my lips, no new taxes.
Oh,
That's what I said.
We're quoting HW tonight. I like it.
Dan's on the show, so my mind immediately goes to history and politics. Go ahead, DJ.
All right, CM Productions favorite not great. Oh, another one putting us on the spot. Favorite not great costumes from superhero movies or shows. Mine is Captain America's costume in Avengers 2012. So costumes that aren't great, but you still like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think the word favorite's weird. I thought you just wanted us to list some costumes we thought were awful.
No, he wants something that you like, but most people don't. Like I think the Captain America from that's a good one that he had. Avengers is made fun of.
Well,
bit,
okay, I have an immediate answer, and you guys know what it is, and I'm going to get flack again, but I'll go ahead and say it. My immediate answer is, because no one likes this but me, and then I didn't either when it was in practice, it's the Iron Spider suit at the end of Homecoming. Because when that shows up, I was like, that looks really cool. I hope he puts that on. And then when I left, everyone on the planet was like, boo, that's horrible. I hope he never wears that. and then you get to Infinity War, and he wears it, and I just looked over at Eric and I went, you're right, that looks terrible.
Did you just not get a good look at it or something?
I still think it looks good, but it's not on it, man. When I go back to that movie and you just see it on a stand or something, it's fine. Like, I liked it.
Anything that looks like Ben Reilly, I'm like, boo, go away, please.
Oh, see, I like the Ben Reilly suit, but not on Spider-Man, like on Ben Reilly.
Yeah, the Scarlet Spider one is cool. I just don't like his Spider-Man costume. I always thought it was kind of weird looking.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. No, you're right. It's not great.
I like the Power Ranger Green Goblin suit. That's my pick.
Oh, that's a great pick.
I love everything about the Green Goblin in general, but everything about the Green Goblin in that movie, too. I know it kind of hinders Defoe's like physical performance. I wish that he had a mask that was able to like display his, because he's like scarier with the mask off. But for what it is,
to quote Weird Al Yankovic,
I quite like it.
I'm gonna go this way, and it's not like that. Like these suits are super hated, but they're not great. But they work in the piece, and I really like them. The first class suits, they're just kind of like vests. But I mean, I'm not saying they're super hated, but if you looked at them out of context, you would have been like, "What is this?" But they look great and they work in the movie. I really like that.
I still like the black suits in the first movie. They just don't work in any other context. When we tried to put those in comics and Ultimate and stuff, it looked terrible. But
I'm with you, DJ. I like those costumes. I like that they finally had yellow, like in a prominent way on the X-Men costumes in the movies. That was super cool.
No, it's great.
I guess they felt like they needed to do it. I mean, they felt like it needed to be set in the '60s before they could do something that out there. But I don't know. I'm fine with it.
And even then, they still felt like they needed some kind of a real-world explanation. Where it's like, well, it's flight suits, and they're all going to be uniform. The perfect. Eric says this. I think I agree with him. The most perfect like comic X-Men type suit that we ever got was Negasonic and Deadpool. It's really neat because it's basically just the straight up Wheaton suits. But we never got to see anybody else in those.
I hope they do the astonishing costumes in the MCU. Like, I love Cyclops' astonishing costume. That thing is mint.
It's neat. I also want to see the AVX Cyclops outfit at some point, just because of the audacity of it. I want to see if anybody can pull that off in live action.
Is that the one
you
that has
mean
the
like
X on his face?
It's the one with the big X on his face.
That's after AVX. That's the all new, all different Marvel one. The first time they did that, because
that's kind of what I meant. I couldn't remember where he first wore it.
He was wearing something similar to because they did like a costume after Astonishing that was very similar, but it just had like different lines on it. And that's the one he wears in that. And then after all that stuff happens, that's when he gets the goofy X on his face costume in the black and stuff.
I also
because like the Bendis was the first time that was like those suits were, because everyone got those like black. You know what I'm talking about. You read Bendis X-Men.
It's all coming back to me now. It's been a few years, yeah. I also want, Dan, that Uncanny X-Men, or I think it was Uncanny X-Men. Now you got me flustered. I'm not sure if I'm right about my sources now. But I kind of want that like snowy white and black Magneto suit too, because that
one's really cool.
That's really cool.
That was the Bendis. Magneto suit they introduced there, and then like in the Cullen Bunn ongoing series, he had that suit too when he was like going around and hunting Nazis and stuff.
I thought that started even back in Remender, but maybe it's a slightly different suit.
No, it was, or maybe it was.
Because there was, or something sort of like it. Because wasn't there a black Magneto suit in Uncanny X-Men? Or am I thinking of something else?
Uncanny X-Men.
Or X-Force. X-Force. Uncanny X-Force.
Uncanny X-Force.
Which predated that a couple years.
Magneto wasn't on that team.
I thought he was in that book somewhere. It's been so long, man. Everything's jumbled. It's been so long. I got covers in my head. And yeah, anyway. All right, let's move on. Let's find some other way to embarrass myself.
Oh, hopefully I've got more of those. Christian Ogden, considering all the backlash Iron Man 3 got, how much pressure is Shang-Chi under to give us an amazing Mandarin?
Not as much as it would have been if it came out just a couple years after that. I think the arguments for that have died down quite a bit.
Yeah, I feel like it cooled off a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the people that complained about the Mandarin on the internet were just angry about the Mandarin because the internet told them to be angry about the Mandarin too. Like, nobody knows who the Mandarin is except for like people who are Eric Holden. Like,
and Eric loves what they did with Mandarin in that. That's the irony of that whole thing.
I mean, like, I don't care about Shang-Chi or the Mandarin, so I have no stake in this argument, but hopefully they do a good job, and people that were angry about it because of the internet are satisfied.
Yeah, I think they've waited long enough that they could have gotten away with never doing that character in any way, and no one would, nobody would really complain or care that much. But so yeah, I don't think the pressure is really high. I mean, I think all of that will come back to some degree if it's terrible. It's like, okay, so people will like manufacture anger, or it'll just come back. People that were livid about that years ago, but like they're not thinking about that anymore because there've been plenty of superhero movies since then to be angry about and that have been polarizing in other ways. That was 2013 that movie, and so yeah, it's been a good long time. I mean, like, you've had 2 sets of kids that have gone all the way through and graduated high school since that movie came out.
That's nuts.
Jeez.
I put everything in terms of 4 years, not because of presidencies, but because of people graduating high school. Because that puts things really into perspective, I find. DJ, what else, man?
All right, we got one from John Ty here. How should the Big Two implement new legacy characters in comics so they won't alienate older fans?
I think they should make new characters.
Well, yeah, so but I think that's what he's talking about.
Not to do that.
Well, like, I don't know. Like, I think it can work, obviously. Like, there are some legacy characters who have worked well, but, like, most of the time it's just for, like, a, 6 months to a year stunt where, like, somebody replaces them and then they come back anyway. And then they, like, get their own mantle and whatever anyway.
Yeah.
Let's just make new characters.
Or we have multiple
the middleman and skip that step.
Or we have multiple characters with the same mantle for no good reason, like Miles Morales with Spider-Man. Like, once you get outside of Ultimate, the man needs his own name. It's really silly that you've got 2 Spider-Mans running around in 616. I don't like that.
Yeah, I agree.
I needed you to say that, Dan, before I fully understood the question. I totally overthought and overread the question because it was like new legacy characters, and I was like, okay, so a brand new character that you create to then be a legacy character that passes its mantle down to other things. And so I'm really glad that you answered it first because I was a little confused. But yeah, it is so challenging to not make that super generic because the temptation is to just do something that hasn't been done before for the sake of it hasn't been done before. And there's some stuff on the table that people just haven't thought of that are great ideas. And there's some things that haven't been done because why on earth would you do that? It's really, counterintuitive. And so too often we'll just go to kind of, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but it's how I feel about it, so I'll just say it. Too often, I think we just go to sort of a diversity place, where it's like, let's roll a d20 and pick somebody that doesn't look anything like somebody we've had in a comic before, or as this character before, but we don't have, like, an idea behind it, and we try to coast on that. We're like, this is supposed to be cool because it represents some group, and then you're like, yeah, but who's the character, and why are they interesting? And also, too often, a lot of new legacy characters, the thing that's supposed to set them apart from the last one is that they're perfect and they can do no wrong, and we really got to get away from that. That's been a big problem with stuff like that. All right, DJ, let's keep going.
Okie dokie. Going back to Hawk. Nope. Thomas Ledbetter again. For Cap.
That is a name I don't recognize until tonight, so thanks a bunch for popping in, and thanks for the super chats. What's up?
Yeah. He says, for Cap, if you were strapped to a chair and forced to watch one movie repeatedly, like in A Clockwork Orange, would you rather watch Resident Evil, the final chapter, or Maleficent, Mistress of Evil?
I haven't even seen that last Resident Evil movie, and I'm picking that.
Have you seen that Maleficent movie?
No, I haven't. But that first one is maybe my least favorite movie I've ever seen, and I don't want to watch that sequel. And yeah, of those two things, I will roll the dice with the last Resident Evil movie. When that question started, I thought I was going to get a choice, not between two, but like whatever I wanted. But then it turned into movie I know has got to be probably pretty bad, and other movie that I know has probably got to be kind of bad.
Well, there you go. I did not think that would be the easiest question that you answered this evening. Hawk Flame, is it more important for a superhero to be relatable or aspirational?
That's one of those it depends questions, man. It really just depends on what. And
if it's Marvel or DC.
Well, yeah, sure, but it really depends on what the initial point is. Because as I always say, intent kind of matters. So if you create a superhero to be iconic and larger than life, and to set the right example, you just hope that that's done really well and that we buy it. And if you do a character that is more flawed than that and meant to be something that could kind of fit into the real world, that people are supposed to resonate with, that is relatable, then you hope that's done right. There is room in the world for both of those things.
Is this it's supposed to be an objective question, or like what our opinion is? Because like, I guess me personally, like, I find relatable characters that go through struggles to be aspirational. Like, Matt Murdock is a really dark character, but like the thing about him that I find aspirational is, no matter how much he digs himself into a ditch or gets beat up, he always like gets back up off the mat and keeps going and doesn't give up like his dad. Like, that is aspirational to me. Superman.
That's a great point.
Superman, is an aspirational character in that like he's very moral and upstanding. But I just connect more with characters who have a little bit more of a relatable aspect to them, I guess. But I think it comes down to personal taste at the end of the day, for everybody who because I don't know, like the characters that you might deem aspirational, like some people might find relatable in some ways. Like I think Superman's Midwestern values, people that come from the Midwest might be able to relate to. I don't know,
Yeah, you're saying they don't have to be mutually exclusive, and that's
sure.
That's definitely right. Yeah. If you're also because I guess this is a pretty. This is a broader question that I realize it's kind of layered. There's a lot of different ways you can read it, because it's also, I don't think, good if we talk about deconstruction all the time. If we get to a place where we're so concerned about the cynical world we live in and how impossible it would be for golden age superheroes to live in that. If you're saying, like, is it more important that we relate to characters, or that superheroes are traditionally what we think of as superheroes? I think it's important to have both of those things at this point. I would hate to completely lose the notion that it's possible for, even if you don't see them around much, for someone to be Superman. I think it's important that we keep in comics and superhero stuff to some degree, somewhere, the optimism that that's possible, even if it's not likely. I would hate to completely lose that.
Yeah, and like, it's interesting, right? Because like, one of my favorite superhero characters that's like a new character I've had some experience with is Starlight from the Boys TV show, and she's very relatable in many ways to me. But she is also kind of like the Midwestern values Supergirl analog kind of character, but has that optimism crushed a little bit, but still tries to stick to her principles. So I find that relatable and admirable at the same time, aspirational. Even though the world is so terrible, she tries her best to try to be a good person. I think it all depends on what connects with you, really, at the end of the day, I think.
Which is why variety is important.
Exactly.
All right, DJ, let's keep going.
All right, I can't believe this came up again, but it's pretty funny. Dark Moonlight Entertainment, thoughts on the Snyder Cut being a 4-hour movie instead of a miniseries? That sounds like the torture scene from A Clockwork Orange.
That's amazing. We talked about this last week, but I don't mind going to it again. Or did we? I don't know. I answered this somewhere. I'm not happy about that. I was looking forward to being able to take that in bite-sized chunks, and I liked the idea of that being weekly. I'm really surprised they changed their mind about it, because HBO Max came out and was like, we want, and I thought this was funny, but like part of the reason that they were releasing it there was because they wanted something that was like their Mandalorian, and so they wanted people to stay on their service for at least a month to watch that show, or between a couple maybe. And like, yeah, that's dumb. It sounds like a dumb thing to say, but also I kind of see the business strategy. It's weird that it's only 4 episodes, of course, but like now they're not going to have that. And I'm wondering if they're doing it just to be kind of uniform with the other movies that they're releasing all year simultaneous with theaters, because they said that they made that decision to release the Snyder Cut in chunks before they knew that they were going to put their whole slate out this year of 21 movies. And it's also possible that Snyder convinced them, because we knew he wanted to do that, to put it in theaters, and he was the one who made the announcement. So I'm wondering if maybe he got them to put it out as a 4-hour movie. I don't know.
I really hope Zack Snyder pulled like Donald Trump when he like announced policy on Twitter without consulting anyone. He's just like, "All right, we're doing it this way," and Warner Bros. Was like, "What?" I really hope.
Well, that's kind of what it was. It wasn't even on Twitter. It was like some other social media.
Oh,
that
really?
I've never even heard of. That he was just someone just asked him, and he just said one word. It was another one of those one-word posts, Cap, where he
it's
just
that
said,
Michael Keaton thing.
Movie.
Somebody says Michael Keaton, everybody loses their minds and assumes there's a franchise.
Yeah, I saw the screenshot that all the news outlets were using, and it was just like one word. He just said movie, and then like everyone's losing their minds.
Why does it matter to people? I don't understand what it's on a streaming service. You can, like, it's not like you're gonna have to go to the theater 4 times or once to watch this. You can pause it after an hour anyway. I don't understand why it's such a big deal.
Well, I do, Dan, because if they had released it that way, the assumption was that they were going to release it weekly, and people didn't want to have to wait. And I was happy about the waiting, because
I suppose that's true.
Because I don't want to have to sit through 4 hours of that to then like I have purely selfish reasons for what I wanted with this. If it all drops at once, it means that I'm going to have to watch it faster than I wanted to have to watch it so that I could talk about it. And when Snyder originally said he was hoping that they would put it out in the theater at the same time as they put it on HBO Max, I was like, well, great. Now there's going to be spoilers everywhere, which means I'm going to have to go. So the good news is, at least I don't have to leave my house and go to the theater to watch this. So that's good for me. But that's the only reason I had a dog in it.
There are no HBO Max original series that even look remotely interesting to me, so I haven't looked at what their release schedule is. Is that how they do their releases? It's like week-to-week stuff?
They haven't had much yet, and I haven't looked into it, so I don't know how they do it. But
yeah.
I remember, it's been a while, Dan, and it doesn't matter now because they're not doing it that way, but I remembered reading initially, maybe I'm wrong about this, that the plan was that it was going to release once a week, and that it wasn't going to drop all at once. I thought that was the press release, but I'm not sure if I'm right about it.
But Warner Brothers is like a cyclone of insanity. So like they change their plans every day.
Every 6.5 seconds, it seems. Yeah, precisely. But yeah, that's the only reason that I think it would make sense for anybody to care about that. I mean, people are annoyed about having to wait for the whole season of WandaVision to drop because it's surprisingly bingeable, and I get that. I meant to talk about that, by the way, when we reviewed it last week. I would have preferred for that show to drop all at once because as episodic as it is, I'm finding myself very impatient with that show. I do wish we could have gotten it all at once.
I am eagerly anticipating watching the next episodes, Mark, because I loved the first 2. I thought they were wonderful.
Yeah,
but that just speaks to the quality of it. Like, if you're chomping at the bit to see the next one. The second season of Mandalorian was also that way. And quick plug, Dan and I are planning on reviewing that. I haven't gotten around to rewatching it yet. I need to do that before we talk about it, but we'll try to do that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
I probably listened to 20 different covers in different styles of that song now.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I think that theme is going to become as iconic as any of the other like Star Wars score things, like Duel of the Fates or the main theme or the Imperial March. It's wonderful.
You know, part of the reason that it's so coverable and that people immediately just started putting out stuff with it, it's because so many TV shows these days. It's funny because for a long time we didn't get intros anymore because you didn't really need them because with broadcast we wanted to like, you know, hurry up and get to the commercials and have enough time for all the commercials because those got longer. But then, ironically, when we started doing a lot of streaming shows, they all got intros, and most of them are really generic and all kind of sound the same.
True.
Especially the horror ones. Every horror streaming show sounds exactly the same.
True. Netflix is like one of the only streaming things that does like really good intros still, I feel. Like a lot of their shows have really good intros.
Yeah, but some of those are also the generic ones, I think. But
true. I mean, I don't watch everything on Netflix, but the ones that I've seen, I really like the intros.
Well, and why would you? They greenlight everything, which is why their quality control is really, really low. DJ, can we go to some pre-written? Because I don't want to shaft that.
Sure.
I'm not sure how much more we've got in the way of super chats, but... Oh, it looks like quite a few.
Yeah, we got a bunch.
To quote Nightcrawler from X-Men 2, quite a few.
Daniel Davis, any characters you'd like to see get the animated series treatment who couldn't for one or another reason during the original run? Hush is a biggie for me. So I guess
he's talking about
Batman specifically.
Yeah, so he's talking about characters that we like that we might want to see in a relaunch.
In that world.
Yeah. Well, like I said, just characters that have existed for the last few, couple 3 decades that we haven't got to see there yet. Red Robin comes to mind. It would be pretty neat if we went in the future and you've got a Tim Drake. A Tim Drake that's got another mantle. Like I said, Cassandra Cain is probably the big one for me. It would be really nice to do Oracle, because nobody cares about that version of Barbara Gordon anymore, and we never got to see that in those shows. While the height of the popularity of Oracle was there, when Birds of Prey in the comics was relatively popular, we had Batgirl in season 4, and then when we skipped ahead to Batman Beyond, we made her the Commissioner. She still had her legs, and that was good. But we never got to see Oracle in that world. And I think if I were them, what I would do right away is not necessarily adapt Killing Joke, but do what the Birds of Prey TV show did, and either do a flashback or just open with a gunshot, and have her as Oracle in that series. I think that'd be great. But those are my immediate answers. I don't know villain. Did he just say villains or did he say characters?
I think just the characters. Yeah, just any characters.
Let's see. I don't know if this would make any sense because I'm not an animated series file or anything, but yeah. I would like to see James Gordon's son from Black Mirror,
as
the Scott Snyder arc.
That would be boss.
In that show.
See, that's the kind of stuff that I'd love to see in a thing where you can go a little bit more adult, but you just hope that they don't push it to an absurd degree. Like, I'm fine with that show not being for kids. I just don't need it to be like unclassy for no good reason. Like,
yeah, that's
a great choice.
That arc had some rough stuff in it, obviously, because his son is a serial killer. But I think you could like do that in such a way where it's not like really gory. Like, you could imply the terrible things he's doing, and that might even be more effective than showing it.
Of course.
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I wish I'd thought of it. Yeah, that's great.
That's like one of the recent Batman things I like really loved that I read. Like, I mean, I know it's kind of old now, but I love that story arc. It's great.
And I also wouldn't mind seeing some characters that were in those shows retooled. I don't mean straight up retcon, but just like it's later in their careers, and so they've evolved some. You could do a Riddler that is a little bit scarier. Like, he can be the same Riddler.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you could get John Glover to come back and voice him, which would be great. But like, you could do something like Zero Year with him, or you could do something like War of Jokes and Riddles with that version of Joker and that version of Riddler. Like, come on, that would be neat. Like, let's do that.
If they do cool stuff with the Riddler, I will watch that show.
Well, and of course, I wouldn't have said this because they'll never do this, but like as far as spinoffs go, like you guys know what I'm going to say. Like just make Riddler a private detective again and give him his own show. Who wouldn't watch that?
Forget the Batman show. I want the Riddler show.
Yeah, the Riddler show, of course.
That would be awesome.
I signed up for that. Dan would keep his subscription for that.
I would. You pay attention, Warner Brothers. You'll get ones of the 5 subscribers you have now still subscribe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I rant about something for a minute?
Yes.
Now that you mentioned that, Dan.
Rants are always acceptable.
I like to ask permission from my guest co-host and my chat moderator to do things in my own show where my name's in the title. I'm scratching my head a little bit, and I'm sure if I was a fly on the wall and could see the board meetings, I would understand why they felt the need to do this. But I'm not saying this is going to be the death knell for Netflix, but it's not a good idea. Have you guys seen that thing? Have you guys had that thing yet where you open up Netflix? I don't know if you guys use Netflix. When you open up Netflix and they give you a warning that your subscription cost is about to go up.
Way up.
Have you seen that?
Oh no, I haven't. I used Netflix today and didn't see that. It's
weird. About to jump, and what they're going to do with it is to be able to use Netflix. Remember when you used to be limited to like 6 devices? They're about to have the main tier, or what they're hoping will be the main tier, at $13.99. So $1 less than HBO Max for 2 devices. That's how much Netflix is going to cost. And what they said, they give you no explanation whatsoever. Whoa. They just go, it's going to go up. For one device, it's like $8 or $9. And I don't know that a lot of people are going to choose that. I think a lot of people are going to go, well, if I can't watch it on multiple devices, but it's going to be that expensive, I'm out. Because a lot of people feel like Netflix has gotten rid of a lot of the things that they care about. They don't care about a lot of their exclusive new stuff anymore. They've watched everything on there that they're really going to keep up with. Stranger Things is not the draw that it used to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what they said right under it was, we've got lots of really cool new content coming out. Don't worry, it'll be worth it. And I'm like, yeah, people are going to trust that. It's $1 less than HBO Max, and people have been complaining like crazy about the cost of that since that was originally announced, and that's been a lot of why it hasn't done what they were hoping that it would be. But HBO Max has an excuse. They've got contracts with, we've talked about this before on the show, they've got contracts with cable companies that forced them into a corner where if they were going to have their own streaming service, they couldn't charge any less than $15, like legally. They have like binding contracts that will not let them charge less. That's the reason they have to do that. Netflix has no excuse for that. It's preposterous that they're going to charge that much, and I think it could be the beginning of the end for them.
So I live alone, and like I have an apartment by myself, and
would you like a moment of silence?
Yeah. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, I use Netflix on more than one device in my apartment by myself, and I share it with my family.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not gonna use Netflix anymore. Like,
and you ain't gonna be the only one, man. And there's a lot of people who share accounts. And I'm sure they think, well, see, we'll make it to where people can't share accounts anymore, and they'll make more money. You guys are idiots, because that's not how that works.
No, those people that aren't gonna pay anyway. Like they're doing that as a bonus. Yeah, I didn't even notice that because I haven't used Netflix forever. Because for me, Netflix sucks anyway. Like, I mean, HBO Max and Disney Plus are doing it so much better. Netflix is already on the way out. I don't know.
And Netflix I know not everybody's me and you, DJ, and I don't mean to be out of touch and act like and just be in a bubble or whatever, but I think there's some truth to this. They announced this right before they're about to drop almost all of Power Rangers from that service. That's ridiculous. Like, they're about to drop, like, 14 shows at least. And that's definitely one of the big franchises that they have that probably keeps certain people on their, streaming. And then they're going to charge $14. Like, the timing of that is preposterous.
Well, and they just lost their biggest draw, which was The Office, which went to Peacock.
Yep.
And they lost Friends last year to
Friends
HBO
last
Max.
Year.
Those are the ones that people just turn on every day when they're cleaning or doing dishes or something, and those are the ones that keep people like just subscribe to Netflix automatically. So like, yeah, I don't know. They're just putting all their eggs in their new streaming stuff. Like
even Sussy just said the main thing he subbed for is Power Rangers. Like, he's probably not going to stay there then.
Yeah, we use my wife's parents' Netflix actually, so we're probably gonna lose it. I don't know, because I pay for Hulu TV, which is like $70 a month, and I pay for HBO Max. I pay for Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and I just canceled Apple because I finished those shows I was watching. So yeah, like I don't even care to pay for Netflix because it's not even.
Solar Dragon says they lost Always Sunny, they lost Futurama.
Oh wow.
So I saw, I don't know if this is true or not, you guys might be able to speak to this, but someone in the comments said that, and this annoys me, which I'll explain in a second. So it said that you have to pay $18 to get 4K resolution
4K.
video on Netflix. So my Xbox One, that's like 8 years old, plays 4K video. Why are we paying an extra fee to pay for a standard video format? Like, that works on almost every device that is in people's homes now. That makes no sense.
And to be fair, like, I agree with you. I think that is preposterous. It's also standard almost across the board. Netflix is not the only thing doing that. And I'm with you. It's outrageous. I don't know why that's standard. But, like, Amazon also does this for rentals. Like, they charge you more to watch in a nicer definition when you rent video. Yeah. I mean, it's normal.
Because I've rented many things on Amazon, and it just always, the $4.99, it always pops with the HDR logo in the top right corner to say it's 4K. I've never paid more for it.
Underneath, well, yes, but you could be paying less is what I'm saying. Underneath that, you have to click on more options, and they'll give you a standard def option, which is $3, and a regular HD option, which is $4 for most things. The prices vary with different movies, but for most things, I just rent the $3 standard format because HD doesn't look that different on my projectors anyway, so I usually just watch in standard def, but yeah.
See, I didn't care about any of this, but I recently bought a 4K TV for my apartment, so I can actually tell the difference now. Yeah, that's
so
really
you're
annoying.
getting screwed. You shouldn't have to pay $5 to watch it in a nicer format.
No. And I guess I'm just a dumb consumer because I didn't bother to click the more options button on Amazon.
I don't mean to call you out. I discovered this a long time ago.
No,
well, because
I'm just making fun of myself.
Well, the first time I noticed it was like $4 to watch in HD, and I was like, you're only giving me the HD option? Because at the time I had a projector that wouldn't play in high definition. So I was looking around to see if there was another option. That's how I found it.
I see. Interesting.
Okay, guys, we're right at an hour. How many more super chats do we have, DJ?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12.
Okay, so you sang that melody completely wrong. You basically were in the pinball number count from Sesame Street at that point, which goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
oh, really?
11, 12. Anyway, so let's go ahead and try to get some of those knocked out, shall we? I want to try to not be much longer than 20 or 30 more minutes if possible, because we got to get going on After Dark over on Patreon. A quick plug for that. We usually tackle a bunch of different topics and do some kind of a fun variety show over there. Tonight, we're just going to catch up and not have too much of a plan. Brandon will be here for that, as will Austin, so we're going to have a big panel this evening for that, so feel free to pop in and ask questions and chat with us over there. It's going to be kind of a free-for-all this evening, and when the show is over, we're going to end off for about 15 minutes, take a break, and then come back over there. And if you're not currently subscribed on Patreon, patreon.com/geekvolution is where to go, and you can get access to that. It is another live show, so you can watch it with us as we're talking for just $2 a month. Okay, go ahead, DJ.
I'm just really enjoying it.
You can watch it in high def for $5 a month, though. No, I'm just kidding.
And if you want to watch it with your family, check out the $17.99 tier.
So, yeah, my question is, too, like, you know, when you log into Netflix and they have, like, all the little, like, names, you can make your own profile, like, what's the point of that now?
Well, you got to pay for the $18.
Play it on one or two things.
What a really good point you're making. Yeah, it's like, you've got 4 accounts on there, but you can only use 2 of them at once, and that's if you pay through the nose.
People are saying I just hit their nostalgia button with that song. I didn't even know I was doing a song. I hadn't even watched Sesame Street. So
no, you have to credit me, folks, for hitting your nostalgia button. Or maybe you reminded them of it, and I just reaffirmed it.
Sorry, thanks, Carl Maxey. I'm glad I could help. Not intentional.
Throw me
Mm.
another super chat, and then I'll go ahead and talk about the Superman and Lois trailer real briefly, because there's not a ton there. I don't have a lot to say, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that might... Yeah, that came... There's a Superman-related super chat coming up. Daddy Longlegs...
I'll deal with it there.
Would Dan be up for a Far From Home commentary at some point in the near future?
Sure. I don't know. My schedule is kind of in flux at the moment. I'm taking the bar exam in late February, so that's my main focus at the moment. But after that, we should talk, Mr. Logan.
Well, let me just interject here, and this is not me like trying to uninvite you from something or anything.
Oh my God!
But Dan on a Far From Home commentary would have to happen down the line somewhere, maybe a few months from now.
Yeah,
because
Marvel Mania,
we're in the middle of Marvel Mania right now, and we're not having guests on that show. We've just been doing me and DJ for the sake of logistics. I guess I could make I could maybe make an exception for Dan for that particular commentary. I don't know, Dan, we could talk, but I've been kind of intentionally... So, full disclosure, I've mostly not been inviting other people there so that I can try to lessen the amount of constant, because I got a lot of this, of constant, where's Eric? Why isn't Eric on this show? And and then people will be like, oh, okay, so he's not the regular co-host. Can he show up for some of these? And then I would get like, you sure as heck better have him on the next one. So finally I just started saying, look, we're not having guests on this show, okay? It's going to be just me and DJ. So I may make an exception for Dan if he's available that evening, but that would be the only one I would do that with. So yeah, let's talk, Dan. I don't know. We may do that.
But if I can't make it, like, you know, you guys are in the middle of it. Have at it. Don't feel bad for not including me. I'm not, you know, don't take it personally.
No, of course I wouldn't. Well, and please, you don't take this the wrong way, but we had to put off the frickin' Ant-Man and the Wasp commentary for so long. I'm not waiting for anybody on any more of these with Marvel Mania. I made a big joke out of that at the beginning of that commentary, where I acted like it was the most long-awaited and most exciting commentary, and people just could not wait for that, because we put it off like 6 weeks. It was Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I still haven't seen that movie, so you guys are doing better than me.
No, you're doing better than us if you haven't seen it, because seeing it twice was the Clockwork Orange scene.
Really?
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's just boring. Like I was gonna say, like
it's not. It's just dull.
You were either missing out on, in my opinion, dullness or a nap that you needed. Like one of those two things.
I do need naps, so maybe I'll throw it on someday.
Pop it in, yeah.
Anyway,
better than an ASMR video.
True.
And now for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I don't know. Listening to people talk, I like, doesn't make me go to sleep. I don't know. I'm just like, this is creepy. Anyway,
we'll talk to Brandon about it after the show, because
yeah.
All right.
Oh great, next. The Four Horsemen are back. And we're going to have Austin, so I guess if we're all the Four Horsemen, that would make Austin Professor Xavier in Apocalypse, where Apocalypse is trying to put his mind in his body. That's the only way I can get to 5, unless he is Apocalypse himself. Austin could be Apocalypse himself.
No, he should. Yeah, he should be Apocalypse, so we can force him to talk with Oscar Isaac's accent in that movie for the entire show.
Oh man, that'd be nuts. So he's got to put like
weird his Canadian accent.
He's got to put weird reverb on in his voice, and
it's Geekvolution After Dark.
They apparently made him like ADR that with different microphones like stuck to his face. Like that's how they got the effect on that voice.
Movie. He must have been like, why?
When he watched it, I mean, if I'm him, you know, all due respect, maybe he was really happy with what happened with that. I don't know. When I watched that movie, I'm like, this could be anybody. You didn't have to cast an actor. Like Bryan Singer could have voiced it. Like
it's so sad that guy is such a good actor, and he was in both X-Men and Star Wars and was completely wasted.
Totally wasted.
Like, it's so sad. Anyway.
Well, let's move on to another super chat.
Okay, sir. Bag Studios. Batman. Okay, he's got two. So one, Batman crosses with TMNT a lot. But what if the 1990 continuity crossed with the Schumacher?
Ooh, that sounds neat.
So like 90s Turtles, like from the movie with Schumacher Batman?
With Val Kilmer. Yeah. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I think Val Kilmer is the best of the old Batmans, so I'm down for that.
But I also could see those styles meshing really well. Like, why not have the Turtles show up in, like, the neon-looking Gotham? I think that could be really fun. And also might be really funny if the juxtaposition is Gotham, ironically, seems way brighter and more lighthearted and less gritty to the Turtles than where they live.
And we can cast Tommy Lee Jones as Rat King.
So inside this continuity, your plan is to take actors that have played characters in the same continuity and just recast them as other things.
Yeah, I mean that's what DC does with everything.
That's what DC does best.
That sounds great. Yeah, absolutely.
And Spider-Man, apparently.
If we're doing that, I want. We talked about this actor earlier. I want John Glover for Baxter Stockman.
It was really cool to see him in Shazam. I did not expect him being in that. That was really cool.
And he's typecast again, but he's always fun in that
he's
lunatic.
Just evil dad from Smallville again.
Yeah, I know. He's a total lunatic, and not only evil dad from Smallville, but in a car crash 2 minutes into the movie, like every other Smallville episode.
He's like, him in that scene is like delightful because he's like a cartoon terrible dad. He's like, you need to learn how to be a man. And then like, when his son insults his other son, he's like, good job, son. You're like, this guy is awful. What?
And it set the tone so well for that movie. I was just immediately like, I didn't think I'd ever get this again. I'm so excited.
All right, and then the second part of his question, and more important, is what supervillain would be most likely to run a McDonald's?
Oh, that's actually a really thoughtful question.
I love everything about the super chat. I wish I could give you your money back. It's so good.
Comment of the month. Give him comment of the month.
Both sides. We should start doing a comment of the month, and they would just be in live comments. That's a really cool idea, and I could give away a prize for it. You know what? Let's talk. We always plan things while we're broadcasting. DJ, would you write that in show notes or something and bring it up to me later if we have a business meeting? I think that's a really, really good idea.
Sure thing.
Well, we have a couple other things we'd planned on getting together at some point and talking about that we haven't done yet. We need a business meeting. We should talk about that. That's a great idea. Yeah. We should get prizes for that.
Let's have an evil boardroom scene right now.
Hey Dan, before I answer that question, hey Dan, have you seen the Captain Logan pop figure yet?
No.
I got from DJ for Christmas. I got some Geeflution shirts, and this is one of them. This is one of them, which is awesome. But also, it's gonna be really super tiny. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but. This is the Captain Logan pop figure.
Whoa, that's cool.
His wife made me this.
Oh, your wife made that?
Yeah, we got a Big Bang Theory head, and then we got a body of some Duran Duran singer, and then we painted.
That's amazing.
And we got Vision's glasses from WandaVision, and then she painted the beard on him because the guy didn't have a beard. And then we painted the Geekvolution logo on his chest.
Wow.
He's even got my
you
wings.
Are like the craftiest people ever. I love that. That's amazing.
I didn't realize it till DJ told me later, but he's wearing my rings. She like went and looked at videos and meticulously made sure of where my rings were on my fingers and put them on the pop figure. Yeah.
Wow.
She's an overachiever. She always makes me look bad.
It's the coolest. I want to give him his own show. Remember how Plush Captain Logan used to do comment of the week? He should do comment of the month. He'd just be like, I'm pop figure Captain Logan. It's time for comment of the month. I'm always blurry so you can see my head.
All right, we have one specific.
What was the question again? Well, no, I don't think I answered that question. Oh, no. Villain running a McDonald's.
Oh, yeah, we didn't answer this.
Yeah, what's your villain? Probably the Shocker, right?
I think the definitive answer is Condiment King.
Oh, okay, you got it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because he has condiments. Like, he's already got some of what goes in a burger in himself.
I want Craven the Hunter to run a McDonald's.
catches all the meat himself.
Like monologues with the drive-through headphone thing on about like how his family was wronged by the Russian Revolution. People are like, "What are you talking about, dude?"
That's awesome. I think the most efficient manager at a McDonald's would be Clock King.
Yes, he would always be on time.
When he'd make sure that you were on time too, and his turnover would be atrocious. Of his employees, he'd be firing people every day.
Yeah. But they're minimum wage employees, Clock King, so you can't expect the most.
Well, he's a villain. He pay him under the table.
What? Yeah, he'd have to raise the minimum wage. That would be Clock King's first rule of business.
He'd raise the minimum wage from his own paycheck, or he'd like have some kind of a smuggling ring on the side.
He would.
Okay, so we've just now gotten to the part where someone told Cap to turn his mic down in the super chat, so we gotta pick up the pace. TH1, this is.
Is that still a problem, or was that an hour ago?
That was a long time ago. What does Dan think of 2077? It sounded like he said 2077, or did he say Wonder Woman 84? If so, what did he think?
No, he mentioned both. He's got Cyberpunk 2077, and he watched Wonder Woman 84. That's what he's talking about.
Yes. So I got a free trial for HBO Max in my copy of Cyberpunk 2077. My lady friend bought me that game for Christmas for the Xbox One, and because that version of the game is so broken, I have not played it yet. I've been waiting for the patches to come in and everything, so I haven't touched it yet. I've been occupied with playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is one of my favorite games of all time now. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, cool. And then from Ann Vandermerwe.
You want to try that again, or should we just move on?
Vandermerwe. Why can't we have a fun Superman series / movie? Sad face.
Why can't we have nice things?
Why can't we have fun things? Fun Superman things is what he wants to know.
Because we just take ourselves too seriously these days, or we're way too insanely sappy about everything. Somehow it's possible to do both. We've seen this numerous times, mostly from things from DC and Warner Brothers. But, yeah, the hope, and I should not get my hopes up on this, I guess this is where I'll talk about Superman and Lois, is that the Superman and Lois show would be the place where we finally have a fun Superman again. I like what I've seen from Tyler Hoechlin in that role. I really do. However I might feel about the CW shows, his first appearance in Supergirl was really, really solid, and at a time where in the movies we didn't understand the principles of Superman or what made that character tick, the script, as not great as those scripts are, got Superman and understood what he was about, and that actor really got it too, and took it seriously, and seemed to think that what he was doing was important. And I had a lot of respect for what he was doing, specifically in that. And every time he's shown up, he's consistently understood that character, even if the scripts aren't good. And one of the only things that they continue to nail in CW is what the point of Superman is. They maybe nothing else, but they get that, and I really appreciate that. I absolutely abhorred Crisis on Infinite Earths, of course. He was fine. I don't like their Lois, what I've seen of her. And unfortunately, her name is in the title. And my hope is that, and I mean, I'm sure it's not the actress's fault. I didn't like her right out the gate. I thought she was immediately kind of throwing Superman under the bus and doing the whole, like, I'm better than you because I'm a woman thing, and I don't want my Lois Lane to be like that. That's weird. So I'm hoping she's not like that in that show. Today, we got a trailer, and I was somewhat surprised by it. And I gotta be careful, because if I let myself get my hopes up, this will be the 65th time I've let these things do this to me, and that universe has been in such shambles and jumped the shark and fell apart eons ago already, and it's an abusive relationship, man. Like, I keep showing back up and reminding myself that I'm a battered housewife and letting myself get hit again, and then I leave, and then at some point I do it all again. The trailer looked solid. It doesn't look brilliant or nothing, but I like the initial premise of it, okay. It looks like they're kind of adapting Dan Jurgens, or starting from this place, Dan Jurgens' Clark and Lois and Clark series, not to be confused with the TV show, but right at the end of New 52 and then into Rebirth, Dan Jurgens was doing a book that morphed into a different book that was the original, like, Death of Superman coming into New 52 and being like, this world is messed up and the Superman doesn't understand what Superman is about. And he was making like a really specific point about what was wrong with DC right then and how they didn't understand Superman by resurrecting his own version of Superman and making a distinction between them. And in that, he and Lois live on a farm together. They're older and they have a 9 or 10-year-old kid who's John Kent, who they've aged up now, and I don't love that, but I really liked him when he was a 9-year-old. And in this show, it's them having been fired from their jobs, living on the Kent farm with children. And I kind of want that show. That's a cool idea. I also really like the idea of, and I don't know how long they're going to stay there. I don't know if that's going to be the premise all the way through the season or the series or even just the season, but like all of the iconography for that show, the way they're selling it is on the farm, and that makes me think that might not just be the pilot. So it sounds like what they might be trying to do is kind of recreate Smallville, like set it in Smallville and kind of do a Smallville with Superman if he was already Superman, and that appeals to me massively because of course I'm a huge sort of Smallville fan with a big love-hate relationship with that show, as I've always had, and I think that they're doing that to kind of appeal to that audience. I wonder if it's a coincidence that we're in Smallville's 20th anniversary this year, and this show is landing, not at the same time that show came out, because we're getting it in February, but I want to be excited. I don't think I should be, because Batwoman was the worst thing ever. It wasn't, but it's not good.
What DC nonsensical stunt casting do you anticipate for the show?
I mean, what's funny is they're running out of things because they had a Supergirl show on for 6 years, and they already did all the Superman stuff over there. So yeah, I have no idea. I've liked some of their stunt casting, man. Like sometimes they hire, the right people for the right roles that just happen to have been in Superman things before, and obviously that's part of why they're doing it. But sometimes that stuff is fun. But yeah, I don't know what, because I think that they've exhausted most of it at this point.
What's his name, the actor from Tom Welling? Do you think he'll have a bigger cameo role in this potentially than he did in whatever that crossover thing they did was?
I think as long as
casting the TV event.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think as long as they don't ask him to play a version of Superman, he'd be a lot more likely to want to do it. He'd be a lot more likely to be on board. I have not looked deeply into this because I'm gonna watch the pilot. I can't help myself. I'm sure I'm gonna walk away in shame, but I will watch it.
Hey, the pilot could be good. The pilot for The Flash was great. You know.
Yeah, but that was a million years ago, man. Like that was back when Arrow was still decent.
True. I stand corrected.
Yeah. Like they.
I haven't watched any of these shows in years, so I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I know, and you can't. As bad as you think it might have been, I promise you, it's worse than that. But anyway, how many more super chats do we have? Brandon just got here, and we got to finish the show up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That's too many super chats. It's too many. Okay, so
lightning round.
I should have said this earlier. Last call for super chats. Actually, not last call. Nobody leave another super chat. We've got enough now. We have plenty, and we need to finish.
Stop giving us money.
No, we really appreciate you guys. Thanks a bunch. So we'll try to wrap this up in 10 or 15 minutes if we can with 7 super chats. I should never say that, but we'll do what we can do. We'll go kind of quick. It's funny. I said I wasn't going to talk about that for too long, and now I kind of want to just keep talking about that. But let's move on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're good. They haven't left in quite a while. So, Lewis Cox, I would like a Wonder Woman animated series and a Thor animated series. Not a question, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dan said that earlier about Wonder Woman. I also would like that, especially if some of those guys from animated series were involved. Sure. Yeah. And I would want something that was really Greek mythology heavy. I think something, that's a thing you actually could do pretty rough and tumble and not make for children at all. I think, honestly, if you're if you're sophisticated with the storytelling, I don't know if you agree with this, Dan, but I don't have a problem with a rated R bloody Wonder Woman show, man. It could be really cool.
Yeah, just adapt Brian Azzarello's New 52 run. That stuff's great. That's the only Wonder Woman comics I've ever read, but they're great. I like them.
And those are polarizing. Some Wonder Woman fans hate that stuff and think that she's not enough of a feminist symbol in that or whatever, but I've never read it, so...
I think she's a really interesting character in that series, and he modernizes Greek mythology a lot. Like the gods are they're not old, ancient looking people. They're like modern versions of them, which I thought was interesting. Like his takes on a lot of the Greek gods, I think were pretty cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I should read some of that stuff finally.
It's cool.
Next one is from Anthony Cabrera. He says,
Hey,
"What Marvel show would you want a sequel to?"
What Marvel show? Are we talking just anything of all time? I mean,
I don't know if he specifically means animated because of the Batman TAS thing, or if he just wants in general.
Okay, I mean, I'll go both ways. So as far as animated stuff goes, I wish we could bring back Silver Surfer because it's great, and it got 13 episodes, and then it was done. So that's the first thing that leaps to my mind.
Well, I'm going to go with the obvious one and say Spider-Man Unlimited, because I finally want to know what happens to Counter Earth, because we were left in a huge cliffhanger.
I just wanted that show to retool itself and realize that nobody wanted that and everybody wanted 2099, and the second season is just unceremoniously 2099. That's what I always, even as a kid, that's what I wanted that show to do. I wanted to just go, psych, we're not going to do the animal people nonsense anymore, we'll just go to 2099.
What were they thinking with that show? Like, they're like, hey, we're going to even take the cape from 2099, but he's going to be on another planet, and there's going to be animal people, and it's gonna have nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, and Venom and Carnage are gonna be like these giant monster creatures that may or may not even have hosts.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding was something like they thought people would be confused if it wasn't Peter Parker or something, which is funny considering how many different versions of Spider-Man there are in
at this point.
All kinds of other media things now. But the obvious answer for me is Spectacular Spider-Man. But other than that, I guess I really liked Wolverine and the X-Men. I would have liked to have seen a third season of that show. And I guess Earth Mightiest Heroes too. Like those three shows before Disney bought Marvel and they made all their shows into dumb baby fests. But all three of those shows were great. And I would like them to have actual good storytelling and animation Marvel-wise again. That'd be wonderful.
And honestly, I don't really have a good live action answer, so I'm cool moving on.
Yeah. 5590ERS, better comic book in your opinion, Dark Knight Returns or Old Man Logan?
Ooh, I don't know. I like those both a lot. I think Dark Knight Returns probably edges it out slightly. I think overall that's probably a more tighter, cohesive thing. But I love Old Man Logan, man. I think it's probably one of, if not the best thing Mark Millar wrote. But the whole hick hulks at the end always rubbed me the wrong way. So I think I'm gonna give it to Miller just because of that thing.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of 80s Frank Miller. I like Old Man Logan too, but Frank Miller in the 80s, you can't really beat that. I would have to say Dark Knight Returns.
But that's a great question, because those are interestingly comparable things, right? Because they're both they don't feel anything like each other, but they're both like a superhero who's older that's coming back and doing the thing one more time, and they're both political, but in very different ways. Like those are really comparable things. I wouldn't have thought to do that. Yeah.
True, and of course, I don't think Old Man Logan would exist in the way that it does without Dark Knight Returns being a thing.
That's an excellent point, and I never had that thought before.
Does their Dark Knight Returns version of whatever there's the Spider-Man version, there's the Wolverine one. I'm sure there's an Iron Man. Every character they've done this since Frank Miller did in the '80s with Batman.
That's true, but for some stupid reason, I've never looked at Old Man Logan and thought about Dark Knight Returns before. So you feel like kind of a moron, really.
That's okay. Dan couldn't find the standard def version. Of the
Yeah. I can't even navigate Amazon menus, so you got me beat. You know.
All right, let's move on. Let's get these knocked
Lucas
out.
Green. Gentlemen, if
Yes.
2002 Spidey had Tom Holland as Parker, Emma Stone as Gwen, and a better suit for Dafoe to act, would we have a good Spidey film?
I mean, I think the 2002 one is great anyway, but yeah, I mean, I would like if the Spider-Man movie from 2002 had Tom Holland, I think he'd need to give a very different performance, because the Spider-Man in the MCU doesn't have a lot of pathos in the way that like Spider-Man from the comics and that version of Spider-Man does. He's very happy-go-lucky. Like, he has problems, but like because the MCU is so light and fluffy, they don't really get into the meat of like how angsty the character is, like Maguire and the Garfield films do. So I think you'd need to make it kind of, he'd need to do something different with it. I don't think you could like take the MCU version and put him in like something more like a real Spider-Man movie. Not that those movies are bad. It's just, you know, they're not exactly what I would like, I guess. But Emma Stone in anything as Gwen Stacy is great. She's the best love interest in any of the Spider-Man movies by far. By far.
Well, I'll a little more. We started that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Dan. Also, did I hear that right? Was it Tom Holland and Emma Stone? Like that, I just don't even see that pairing at all.
I guess this is like ideal, like actors are not the ages. I don't know, because also Tom Holland would have been like 9.
No, yeah, and I'm not thinking that. I'm just saying, like, even all things being equal, like they're the same age and you could put them in a school together. Like Emma Stone was very clearly cast to go with a particular actor. Like I wouldn't put them together necessarily, and I find it hard to imagine like taking a director and grabbing like other actors that other directors picked for their specific projects based on the scripts they made and like mixing and matching that way. Sam Raimi, if he were, again, all things being equal, people are the right ages or whatever, I don't imagine he would have chosen those actors. Like, I don't know that they would have gone with the sensibilities that he had necessarily. So, I'm stuck on that point of it. I can't run with you any past that because, directors are gonna choose their actors very carefully based on their script and their sensibilities. I don't see Sam Raimi going for Tom Holland, or even Andrew Garfield necessarily.
True.
Yeah. Lewis Cox. I would like the Batman TS sequel is to be set after Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, sure. Well, and like I said, I would want it somewhere between the that last season, that season 4 stuff they did where they went ahead a few years, and Batman Beyond. So that would put you there. That would put you after that probably. So yeah, no, I agree with you, but I would still want it to be kind of street level. I mean, I think one of the challenges you have with that is not making it too giant and cosmic after all of the, large adventures that Batman has had with the Justice League. And one of the pitfalls that Batman Beyond fell into toward the end, and especially in comics, is they could not get away from the Justice League. And I was always a lot more interested in, high-tech futuristic stories, but still more street-level stuff. And once you brought in the Justice League, I found myself kind of uninterested with Batman Beyond. But that was also partly because I didn't find any of those characters remotely interesting. So...
TH1 gives us a $5 super chat with emojis in it.
Oh, good.
So I'm just going to read those.
Thanks, Tom.
Tinfoil hat emoji time. The reason we had so many movies in 2019 is because they knew that 2020 would be such a poop emoji fest for movies. Awesome show tonight, guys.
They knew they were going to send us the virus from China.
Dan. No, Dan. Okay, Tom. Yeah, nobody could have predicted 2020. Nobody had any idea what was coming there. It's unfortunate that we had a not great year in 2019 and then just didn't get movies in 2020. But then that's part of the reason that I kind of appreciated, even though I wouldn't have wished the virus and stuff on anybody, I kind of appreciated the reprieve partly because 2019 was not a great year for movies. So, yeah.
Then he sent us another one right after. I can only watching one device at a time, but can have it on about 6 devices. I only pay $8.99 Netflix. Really great show tonight.
Yeah, right now they're about to change that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't be. Tom, I appreciate you. Thanks for all the super chats. You're not special, buddy. You don't get to like have it on a bunch of devices when nobody else does. That's what it is right now. They have put out a warning that it's about to happen. It's not happened yet.
And then one more super chat that came in after the call.
Oh, I see. No, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I see what he's saying. He's saying he can have it on multiple devices, but he can only do it at one at a time. Well, yeah. I guess I said that wrong when I said only on one device. But yeah, you can't play on more than one thing simultaneously. Is what they're doing.
Yeah, that's the thing where like if like my parents or if my wife's parents are on, and then like it'll say like 2 people are already on it using 2 devices. So
to the thing you said earlier, Dan, like I guess because of that, it still makes sense to have different accounts because you want the kids to only see like the kids stuff if they're the only one person that gets to use it right now. Whatever.
Yeah, I just think Netflix is a bunch of dummies. I'm not a fan of this business strategy.
Like I said, who is going to be? How doesn't everybody like revolt with this? I think you're going to see their numbers plummet. I'm curious to see what this does to their stock prices. Like,
well, this could be really dangerous for them because I feel like they, I've heard in the past that they operate in the red, kind of like Amazon does, because they invest a lot of the money they have into projects, and then they depend on investment capital to keep their business going. I'm not a business expert, so I may be completely wrong about this. But it seems to me like if they have a massive drop in subscribers, that could be big trouble for them.
Do they still operate in the red? I know for a long time that was
I don't know.
Strategy.
I knew that was the case like a year when I like still paid attention to entertainment things because I had a life.
They finally got in the black. Where I thought they had a business strategy. It was like for 5 years we'll operate at a loss, and then I don't know if they ever came out of that.
Let's still hear them based on no information.
I would have to. I was gonna say, yeah, we're basically talking out of the other side of our face right now.
Well, here
we could look it up because there's no mystery left in the world anymore.
David 22, Spider-Man Reign versus Old Man Logan versus Dark Knight Rises, rank 1 to 3.
Dark Knight Rises or Dark Knight?
Sorry, Dark Knight Returns. He just put DKR,
like, that's weird.
And my brain just read it as that.
So,
well, we both agreed that Dark Knight Returns is better than Old Man Logan, so that gets pretty easy.
And then I think objectively, Old Man Logan is better than Spider-Man Reign, like just objectively.
But we could go round robin and name the first thing that comes to your head, no matter what it is, comic or food or otherwise, and you would probably put it over Spider-Man Reign because that book is
like
crazy.
Spider-Man Reign. A lot of people think it's dumb, and it kind of is, but I really enjoy it.
Well, that's cool, but I still don't think there's a lot of comics that you've read that unless you just totally flipped your sign red, you'd put over that book, like, or you'd put under that, right? Is there anything you put under that book, like?
I genuinely enjoy that book. Okay. Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I don't. I mean, I know it's not like the greatest thing in the world, but I enjoy it.
All right. Well, that is the end of our super chats. So this concludes this broadcast show, but not this broadcast day. We're gonna be back here in a few minutes for Geekvolution, or I guess these days we call it Captain Logan After Dark, in case I'm the only one that shows up. But tonight there's going to be 5 of us, so I'm sure there will be a lot more talking than just me this evening, and probably on entire subjects that I'm completely uncomfortable with even weighing in on. So look forward to that. We're gonna We're going to leave you for about 15 minutes. We're going to come back at 9 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock my time on Patreon. So subscribe over there if you want to hang out with us. And it's going to be basically more of this show, but completely uncensored and with anything and everything folks want to talk about. So pop in and hang out with us. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to broadcast for at least an hour, probably an hour and a half. Sometimes that show goes late. Tonight, I'm going to cut it off at some point because I have other things to do. But anyway, you guys are great. Look for the email in your box from Patreon within the next 5 minutes or so to click on the link to jump over to that unlisted show. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan. That was Dan Torrey, special guest who we didn't even know was showing up. Dan Torrey.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was great tonight, and it was great talking to all you in the audience too and answering questions.
Yeah, and thanks for all the questions directed toward Dan, because it's been a while since he's been here, so it was great to get to hear Dan answer some stuff. And also, our fantastic chat moderator and producer and logo maker guy, DJ Martinez.
That's me, logo maker guy, running a McDonald's restaurant.
We call him the LMG. He's a light machine gun.
I'm a Roald Dahl book that you should check out.
That's fantastic. He's a light model guy. Anyway, we'll see you later, folks. Thanks for being here. Bye, everybody.